Steve Post from Motor Racing Network here at the Racing Electronics Display, PRI in Indianapolis, Indiana. One of the great stories last year in short track racing took place out in the eastern part of Virginia. And we have with us Connor Hall, who is the 2023 Advanced Auto Parts NASCAR National Champion. Connor, first off, welcome in. Good to see you, man.
Thanks. Nice to be here at PRI and, here to hang out with you and have a good chat.
Yes, indeed. This season, you start off, you're going to run some Cars Tour races, you're going to run Langley. You go to Langley on opening night, you win the race, and the next thing you know, your whole time, your whole schedule, your whole year changed for the good, it turns out. Just walk us through how that processed for you to end up running for the national title.
Yeah, so it was just the world's most convoluted season, and there was no plan, which was actually, I feel like, the reason why it kind of was so, relaxed and enjoyable. Because most people, when you get on that national grind, it's just, you almost see a little bit of a decline, especially in your mental sanity, because you just, there's only one goal. Failing's not an option kind of thing. But we built a new car this off season. We were like, hey, we should take it to the icebreaker and shake it down. We finished second there, and the Cars Tour schedule, allowed us to actually make opening night at Langley Speedway, which is my home track. And we were like, let's just go have some fun. They look like they're going to have a good car count, and we won both races for the night. And then we got back to the shop, and I was like, well, this was fun. I got time to go do some cars racing and put old girl back up on jack stands. And my friends were like, well, we got to go back next week. And I was like, are you, I don't know. And it was just kind of the joke, like, we got to keep going back. We got to keep going back. And luckily we were like, well, we're just going to keep going back until we wreck, lose or other. And luckily we won 11 races in a row. And then at that point, it was kind of obvious what our plans needed to be for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you go and you start off doing this and you win 11 races in a row, and all of a sudden this national title comes into focus. When did that come into focus, and ultimately when did that become priority, and how did that alter things at that point?
Yeah, so most know I was full schedule with Chad Bryant Racing for the Cars Tour. And as a member of the Touring 12, I was, obviously obligated to make sure that I made all the Cars Tour events. And so I was kind of tiptoeing around the tough subject. And I know Kip's around here somewhere, so I gotta watch my back. But basically, it got to a point where Chad and I sat down, and I was like, hey, for anybody who doesn't know, 18 wins is your perfect year on the NASCAR schedule. And I had, I was already at like 13 or 14 wins. Most of them were from a bonus point position, so we were positioned very well early in the year. So then I called Chad and I was like, hey man, I feel like I got to do this. And he was like, I feel like you got to do it too. So contrary to what everybody thinks, Chad was very supportive, helped me through the whole national process. So then the hard part was getting the approval to start missing some Cars Tour races. So I called Keely Dubinsky, who's, operations management over at Cars Tour. And I was kind of like, hey, what do you think about me missing some races? And, well, you're in a Touring 12 contract, right? And I was like, yeah, but wouldn't it be cool if y'all had, if y'all supported me in doing this? And she was like, yeah, of course, just talk to the powers that be. So funny enough, I wrote them a letter. Yeah. I wrote Kip and the management group a little bit of a letter and got kind of approved. And then a week later, we were at the first missed Cars Tour race. We were at Hickory. We ran 5 races that weekend, chasing the national thing. And the funny thing is Jeff Burton was a boat customer of my family's. So Jeff called my dad and when we were at Hickory, and he was like, why are y'all really missing Cars Tour races? And I think that they were upset that we got upset somewhere along the way and jumped ship to go race the NASCAR stuff in spite. Right. But in reality, we were like, look, this is probably our one chance to go win a national title. We just thought that it was going to be good because we already had some ailments on the Cars Tour stuff that kind of put us a little bit further back in the standings that we really thought we were able to capitalize on. So long story short, Dale and Jeff were together in the booth, and they were like, we're just calling to make sure everything, there's no bad blood. And we were like, no, we're going to come back. The deal was, as soon as the NASCAR side was over, I would resume the tour, which I did. So basically, without giving away too much, they were basically like, go win the darn thing. And the joke was that because there's a fine in all per race that you miss because of the incentives. And the joke was if I won the national title, they would not fine me. So luckily I got held up on my end of the deal, and I think they held up on theirs.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Dale Jr. with his driver Josh Berry had some problems with the Cars Tour, and that's what triggered them to go national championship racing, which won Josh Berry the national championship. So there's a little history with something quite similar to that. 18 wins, you had a Cars Tour win at Langley Speedway. As you look back at it as a racer, what's it like just to go to the racetrack and know that, man, you're the man when you pull into this racetrack? What's that like? I think every racer wants that.
Yeah, I'm not the man. I'm just Connor. We had a very blessed year. It's something that I never really thought would have ever happened. I grew up such a little Langley Speedway late model fan. Like, I always wanted to race a Legends car. I always wanted to race late models. So, because when I was little, I didn't know it was possible. I was just go-karting. I didn't know much about the sport. So to be able to kind of do what I always wanted to do, and I mean, like, I grew up, like, every day when I got home, I ran to YouTube on a Monday because there was a guy who would post the race highlights on Mondays from, like, Motor Mile and Sobo of, you know, Philip Morris, Lee Pulliam, Josh, all the Frank Denny Jr., all those guys back in the mid-2000s. So to be able to kind of, like, grow up wanting to be like them and then kind of put my name in the same hat, it's a pretty cool experience.
That is so neat. Two final questions for you. The one when we look at 2024, the good news is you did that with your family team. You also had Chad Bryant's ride on the Cars Tour. Nelson Motorsports, Barry Nelson, one of the top teams. They're three-time champions on the Cars Tour. You're able to put a deal together with him, so you are a hired driver for the Cars Tour next year. That's got to be really cool to go into that number 22 car.
Yeah, it's a huge honor. It really came out of nowhere. Barry and I have just always kind of maintained some sort of communication just through being competitors, and we got to talking a little bit, and it mainly was just me. I was just simply reaching out to congratulate them for, you know, they kind of went through some growing pains earlier this year, and, you know, they really turned their program around and had some good runs. You know, they won the 30,000 and came that close to winning Martinsville, so those are two great events that you can't, you know, I don't think luck puts you in those positions. So I'm really excited. I'm really blessed. You know, Barry Nelson and Matthew Eshelman over there, and it's going to be a great group of people, and I think we're really putting the proper effort. We're already testing. We're here trying to figure out some of the cool things to have on board for next year, and I'm just really, really excited to kind of. I've never had an opportunity like this, so I'm just trying to make the most of it. And
you will do well. Final question for you off the racetrack. You're in the podcasting business now. Turning up the mic, but I tuned into one of them and there was nothing about motorsports. What are you doing with the podcast?
So everything I do, I'm very vanilla on social media. And first off, I think that's just because of the way the social media world is now. I mean, you put something out there that one person doesn't agree with and you're canceled. So the point of my social media being so vanilla and just racing, the whole thing of the podcast is I was just sitting there and I was like, man, like I feel like people don't even really like know me other than the racing, because the most people who do know me, like at times the racing is like 1% of my life. Like I fish, I hunt, like I build some boats on the side. Like I do a lot of things that most people don't know. So, and I'm a big sports guy. And so is my roommate. So the point was, I was like, man, like let's just do something super relatable that most guys our age love to do, which is watch and bet on sports. And you know, obviously, like I always have my little disclaimer in there. Virginia's a gamble legal state. You know, it's all legal activity. So we just sit there. We talk a lot about. We're big football and college basketball guys, so it's just kind of a way to at least kind of connect with maybe a different crowd of people that could be like possibly interested in motorsports as well. Maybe kind of some reverse engineered marketing, but it's really just a good time. Just kind of hang out for 30 minutes to an hour every day or so and talk about sports and have a good time. But there's going to be some more racing, but I think with the off season, if you can only produce so much racing content in the off season, but once the racing season gets into things, in the full swing, obviously I think Mondays will kind of be a racing recap and then so forth.
Love it. Absolutely fantastic. Congratulations on the national championship, the new ride next year, the podcast, the celebration in Nashville looked like fun as well. Congratulations on all of that, Connor.
Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely. Connor Hall, the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts national champion, joining us here in the Racing Electronics booth at PRI.